All right, I think we're live. Do you know? Hi, everyone. Do you know about the millennial delay, Ryan?
I
Do you know
don't.
about the millennial delay, which my son is obsessed with because he keeps calling us millennials, which we are clearly not. But
No.
apparently, if you turn a camera on yourself and you hit record, like people of an older generation will
Okay.
kind of in their head pause for a second or two and then start because that's how technology used to work.
Right.
And it's the young people that actually just start talking. And
Yeah.
apparently that is the difference.
I like how it's the millennial delay, which is
I
like
know.
the youngest generation that I can think of.
I know my son kept saying to Becky and I that we were millennials, and it was just like, first of all, we're not. Second of all, there's nothing more insulting than to call me a millennial.
Yes.
And it was just like that. Can people hear us? Because someone respond. I see an evening, guys. Okay, we are actually live.
So we are live. So that means we need to do our intro, Dave. Are you ready?
That's right. Go for it.
This is the stuff dreams are made of. I'm writer collector Ryan Condal.
And I'm live writer collector Dave Mandel. I seem lower in my thing today. What do I seem lower to you? Is that just the
maybe I see I'm higher because I'm off
is that
the
it?
I'm off the laptop cam today.
Yeah, I like it. Thank you everyone for coming out and welcome to the original Movie Prop podcast.
Indeed.
Brought to you and hosted by Heritage Auctions, ha.com. We've got the big auction coming up this week, the 25th and 26th of July. We're going to be talking all about Heritage Auctions today and what's going on in the auction and what we're thinking about and what you're thinking about and just every little piece of thing that we can humanly do. And I just came back on Tuesday from Heritage myself, and all those videos are new ones up every day. I think around 10 a.m. Bart's trying to put them up. Every day, 10 a.m. on our YouTube channel. So check that out. Lots of me with props. It was an abbreviated trip, but it was a very fun trip. I didn't realize I went there. Bart and I flew in the morning, flew back at night, and then we realized that the All-Star game was going on in Texas at the same time. And I think I would have stuck around if I'd known. But anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
And Ryan, you are here in Los Angeles, just to let everyone know what's going on.
I am. Look at me in my temporary podcast studio that you guys might be seeing from time to time. And we couldn't get it together to get live, but we are in the same time zone for the very first time, I think, since maybe we recorded the pilot of this thing.
I know, it's been a very, very long time. By the way, I just have to point out, Farlane the Goblin says it looks like you're in front of like curtains that you're about to reveal that you bought some like the tank from Fury or something, like really large. Yeah.
Behold my yellow wall. Yeah. That joke will make sense in the future.
No, it makes... Oh no, yeah, in the future, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Yeah. Are you guys feeling good? You feeling a little settled? You're not fully discombobulated because you came from Jersey, so you're not the full London to the US, so you're not on crazy time. Yeah,
we're all good, plenty of sun, and excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be very fun. We're going to dive in, and we kind of want to get to the biggest question, which may be the Y-wing, which I don't know if we want to start there or end there. I don't know.
I think it's going to be the 3-act story across this very live podcast.
I'm not sure I have any answer on it, is the honest answer. Although I've got a lot of people kind of saying to me, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Because we're trying to figure out what we're doing. And it's sort of just like, which is fun. I feel like some sort of fulcrum right now in the prop collecting community, I guess.
What's Dave going to do?
Yeah. The dominoes begin to fall. Yeah.
I want to see them flying in formation in your condo.
I'll need like 7 more. Yeah.
My Comic-Con 2020 or 2025 visit, Dave. I want to see them flying in formation together.
The most amazing thing I will say to everyone, and obviously videos to come, is I believe it was actually picked up yesterday and the drive to Los Angeles has started, which means there's a tiny chance I will have it on Tuesday before Comic-Con, although I don't think that's going to happen. But when I come back from Comic-Con, I think it's going to arrive, which is...
Oh, the X-Wing.
Fucking everything. Literally everything. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
All right.
So thank you, Heritage. Just
fantastic.
Kind of insane. Yeah. I got to say, when
Comic-Con, Dave. Let's get over and do that unboxing video.
It's wild. And now and then speaking of dominoes, lots of dominoes, which is like, I have to send the Stormtrooper mannequin. The middle piece of it needs to go back to Gino. I got to FedEx that to Gino so that Gino can do something that he needs to do to it. and then I think he's going to ship it back, and I think Gino's going to come out and help put the whole thing together.
Oh,
So
amazing.
that'll be a whole other film. It'll just be just Gino, and it'll be like a lost love reuniting Gino and an original Star Wars stormtrooper from A New Hope. It'll be them mostly making out, I think, is what it's going
So
to
good.
mostly
Yeah,
be.
we'll just awkwardly back out of frame,
Yeah,
Dave.
just slowly as beautiful romantic music kicks in, and then eventually just like hardcore like porn, wonga 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 wonga. So that'll be really good. This auction is deceptive for me a little bit, which was I was a little sort of like, oh, maybe there's not much I care about, and then slowly I have come to care about more things than I care to care about in this auction. That has happened to me. I don't know where it kind of came from, so I will simply start by saying, damn you, Heritage, you've done it again.
Yeah,
That's
I think
a
you
little where I am.
going there
It doesn't help. It doesn't
Yeah.
help. Yeah. Can we start with one thing, which is a you thing, which is the John Alvin Blade Runner promo prelim, sorry.
Yeah.
And I will just simply say, and you guys can check it out in the video. It's in the poster art video. I'm not even sure in our poster art video, and we played with the color a little bit. I'm not sure modern camera work is quite capturing. Like, I mean, it looks better, I think, in our video than it does in some of the stills, but there's an interesting thing with whatever some of those colors are, and what happens with like there's some white, and I feel like the white freaks the camera out and kind of it gets that too white, and then everything else, I don't know, there's something going on camera wise, but I was struck by it in person. I don't know where your brain is a couple of days before. It definitely it has
I was
hit me.
struck that you were struck.
Yeah.
Certainly. Watching the video helped. Yeah, I mean, I really like it. I think it really is a truly like, what is it going to cost a question, because I think there has to be a sort of Rubicon in there based on the fact that I have the pencil prelim, and this isn't like my do or die. I either have a piece of original Blade Runner poster artwork or not. This is like, if it makes sense, then I'm very happy to, and also keeping an eye on future auctions later this summer as well, and trying to balance those things and all that. So yeah, I mean, maybe we'll get there. Maybe we'll do a wrap up at the end, sort of what we're thinking after we go through all of this with our because I know there are other pieces and we should get into them, but I presume the key one on your mind is the Y-wing. Yes.
I mean, it is and it isn't. And I mean, I can say this at the top and then we can kind of loop back around. Yeah, no, I know. It is coming down to just how much money into two pieces of comic. How much money into two prop pieces. I mean, let's start there. I certainly don't. Certainly, if it was all of a sudden, like it was, they're calling, once, twice, last call, and it was a couple $100,000. Oh, I'm in. Certainly. I'm just not sure I have the appetite for another, multi I guess $1 million purchase.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how else to express that. I'm not saying it will never happen again, but that maybe when it were to happen for me again, it should not be something that I already have a pretty good, maybe even better example. And it's hard to judge them against each other, but you know what I'm saying? It's sort of like I did check the box of I did ILM, original miniature, scratch built miniature from the original Star Wars movie. Yep. I think, just in a blind taste test, most people would name an X-Wing, and there it is. So I'm not quite sure Y-Wing, and then what happens when tomorrow, I don't know, lightsaber, Chewbacca costume. I don't know. The next thing falls, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Can we write this down, Bart? Can we write this very milk toasty kind of rant and thinking down, just so that we can call it up in about, I don't know, 2 weeks?
Yeah, I was talking to Kelvin and our friend Kelvin Mao, and I was sort of saying similar things, and he goes, "You always say that, and then the next day you call and say I got it." So yeah. A
Fascinating to
question for
watch.
Dave and Ryan: when trying to decide if a particular prop sparks joy sufficiently to go for it, do you ever rewatch the film or at least the scene where it's featured, e.g., Gold Leader, Balerion the Dead? Balerion the Dead. That is actually an
That's
excellent
Balerion the
question.
Dread, Dave.
Oh,
That's
Dread.
a
I'm sorry.
House
Is
of
that
the
a House of
Dragon
Dragon? Sorry.
reference to
Oh.
Aegon the Conqueror's dragon, Balerion the Black Dread. Thank you.
Gotcha. Sorry, I apologize. Balerion, and to the house, and to the dragons.
Which gave rise to one of my favorite jokes from the first season, when the children who are tormenting young Aemond, who has no dragon, and they tell him that they found a dragon for him, and then they bring out the pig on the leash.
That's right.
And his brother Aegon yells out, "Behold the pink dread," which just absolutely delighted me.
And in some ways, that scene is literally driving the narrative of literally the next, basically 3 seasons, more or less.
Correct.
I mean,
that is
yeah.
the assassination of Franz Ferdinand.
Yeah, that is sort of like, I'm gonna not react. I'm gonna take this in, and I'm gonna kill everyone of the motherfuckers. Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Right.
Balerion the Dread. I do not actually. I have occasionally gone to look and kind of double check the reference, to double check that it is what they say it is. Although more often than not, that is going through screen grabs as opposed to watching the scene. I don't know. I guess I certainly with Star Wars enough, I feel like I don't need to rewatch it to know how much I like it. And also more often than not, I've seen it relatively in the last couple of weeks, one way or another anyway. So, I Star Wars for me, kind of like, I'll just put it on while I'm working on stuff. I listen to it a little bit like music. I think I've talked about that before. When I work, I like having a very familiar movie on in the background. And so more often than not, it's in my brain. Do you go in like, watch it like to enjoy it, or are you just checking it out?
I typically don't. I actually like to hold that off until I possibly win it, and then there's an enjoyment in the appreciating the film anew with the new thing that you have.
Right.
I did have this strange experience a couple of years ago. I think it must have been 2019, because it was the 30th anniversary of Batman 89. And I always loved that movie. I loved that movie as a kid. And then all these other Batmans sort of followed it. And of course, the Schumacher one sort of hammered that into the ground. And I grew up and I moved on, whatever. But I loved Batman 89. And sure, I would love to have something from it. But I think I had that thing in the back of my head that I was quietly afraid to rewatch the movie as not only a thinking adult, but a thinking adult who wrote movies for a living.
Sure.
Because I didn't want it to be besmirched. But there was this 4K restoration. It was big. They were doing a bunch of stuff for the 30th anniversary. So I sat down one night, and nobody was in the house. So I just sat down, cranked the volume up to 20, and played it. And it was the most amazing revisit experience that I've ever had, because I was so drawn back in, and all the things that I loved more, and I appreciated the film more deeply than I had as a kid, because I realized what Burton was doing. And it's not like it's this incredibly sophisticated piece of filmmaking, but it's an example of tonal perfection, and he hit it, and it still exists that way today. And Christopher Nolan, he did great things with those films, but he did not replace Batman 89. So anyway, as a result of that, you see my crazy Batman collection today. And I was just like, oh, I'm all in. And then from that point, I was willing to invest real money, I guess, into the collection. And now it's a major corner of my collection. So that's just one example, I guess, is that strange thing where you, as an adult, go and revisit this thing that you loved with sort of one eye covered, afraid of what's going to happen. And it was just the most delightful surprise to me.
I recently rewatched, not out of fear, but maybe a general kind of I guess. I have definitely watched Superman and Superman 2 from time to time as they've put out various, Donner cuts and whatnot. And I guess this is one of the good things about streaming, which was I was watching Superman 1, and then it said, well, now do you want to watch Superman 2? And I went, sure. But then it said, do you want to watch Superman 3? Which I did, and then Superman 4, which was really interesting in that 3 and 4 are definitely, I guess they're not great movies, but Christopher Reeve is still great in them, if that makes sense. You can sort of see where they get misguided. clearly, and by the way, for all I know, this is Reeve wanted it like this. They're leaning into the comedy, like worse than like I don't know, like the worst sort of comedy superhero movie. Like they're really leaning into the comedy way too much, dare I say. And I say this, by the way, as a comedy writer, it feels like out of place in parts. And I'm
Yeah.
not sure, Richard Pryor isn't playing it funny. There's a couple of little things, but he's actually playing it quite straight. A lot of it doesn't work, but actually, amazingly, a lot of it does work. I was pleasantly surprised watching 3 because I guess I was expecting to hate it, that I didn't. And then 4, also a big mess. But again, I guess Christopher Reeve kind of holds it. When I was all done with it, I think I have sort of doubled up on my like a Chris Reeve Superman suit one of these days. So I don't know. So somewhere in there is an answer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I find those I missed those were not my movies when I was a kid,
yeah.
and I find them very difficult to. I tried Superman the movie a couple of years ago, and I just found it very difficult to engage with. And but I Christopher Reeve is incredible, and the thing that I like, somebody said this is not my thing, but I really liked it, so I'm repeating it. Is that the brilliant thing about those movies is that most superhero movies is like the secret identity is playing the role. So like Michael Keaton is playing Batman when he gets into the costume, whereas in Superman it's Christopher Reeve
He is
playing Clark
Superman
Kent,
playing Clark Kent. Yes.
which I do love, and I think that's the brilliant way
And
into
there are
that.
those couple of moments, I think, in each movie where he is Clark. And I'm not just talking about in 2 when he reveals himself to Lois, but there are moments where he is Clark, and then whatever, something happens and he goes, to change or whatever it is. And he just sort of like stands up straighter. It's like the moment before the reveal or whatever. And it's like you just kind of go, oh my God, what acting? He's playing Clark, and now all of a sudden he hasn't even revealed us he's not revealing the costume, but just in his demeanor,
He
his sort of,
sheds the
yes, he just wipes it off, and all of a sudden
yeah.
he is Superman. I was going to say, Stanley is very upset that you don't like the Superman movies. You should try and maybe at some point see the original Superman on a big screen where maybe you get a little lost in it, because I know the top of the movie is a little abbreviated. The Krypton sequences, it's a little sort of confusing, but I don't know. I think the sort of there's a wonder and a very enjoyable slowness, dare I say, to the Kansas scenes, like the sort of the growth of him into Superman. I don't know. I maybe give it a shot at some point.
Okay.
So
Now
you therefore don't really have a Superman movie, because I can't imagine any
no.
other Superman movie has particularly engaged you
Got
one way
me.
or another.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, I mean, I love the way into Zack Snyder's first one, the fact that like Superman was this sort of conspiracy myth that Lois Lane was convinced exists and was chasing. It was a really brilliant thing that they sort of lost track of, and it became about something else, and you know, Zod and what
Right.
leather and whatever else. But no, I don't have a Superman.
We should point this out only because it is a live broadcast, which is Joe Biden just wrote a letter saying he is stepping down, that I believe is real. It has been retweeted. He tweeted it out. I believe reporters are confirming it. I believe
Wow.
Jill Biden's account. So unless somebody has radically taken over the internet, I believe he is stepping aside and is endorsing Kamala Harris. Wow, just wild.
That's big news. Is he bidding on the Y-wing?
Well, now I think he's free to, constitutionally, he is free to bid on the Y-wing. Yeah. That is wild. Wow. Live, motherfuckers, live. Yeah.
This is the
All
kind
right.
of stuff that happens on the Stuff Dreams Are Made of live, everybody.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's dive into something, just because it's been a solid 20 minutes of show and we have yet to talk about Heritage.
No, we're talking about the auction.
Yeah, I guess we're sort of talking about the auction.
Superman.
Yeah, exactly. This was
so Dave,
right?
what's the thing that you wish you were sophisticated enough to buy in this auction?
I thought about this one a lot. And I hate the fact, I'm going to point this out. I hate the fact I wanted to say like 3 of the things that I kind of look at in the videos and we've talked about a little bit. So I'm just going to list those off because we've talked a lot about them. I wish I would just kind of get the Stanley Kramer archive. I wish this was the moment where I actually got a couple of Edith Head drawings, but I also really wish I grabbed one of those John Ford Oscars, because I am just obsessed with the Battle of Midway one, but both of them especially. I mean,
They're great, yeah.
I am.
How green was my valley?
That also incredible. But I am just extra obsessed just because of now what I know about how he sort of willed those documentaries into being,
Yes.
if that makes any sense. So I yeah, you're gonna laugh at me on what I picked, and I'm not sure it's a perfect answer. Wait, shit, I lost it. I'm trying to find the number. I apologize. I'm looking. I should have written these things down, and I thought I had written the number down, and I didn't.
I did.
You did. You're much better than me. You're gonna here you go, and it's a very specifically weird one. 89344. I've been wanting one of these forever, and I keep not pulling the trigger. This is one of the John Wayne gifts. He would make these mugs for each movie, and this is the one for what's it called? Crap, what do I can McHugh. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a movie I've seen, whatever, but I just love the notion of this John Wayne crew gift that he personally had made and gave to the people he liked on each of the John Wayne movies. And obviously a Searchers one would be incredible. Those things go nuts. I don't know why. I just think it would be really cool to have it, but also part of me just goes, yeah, I just shouldn't be bothering with this kind of stuff. I don't know, wherever
I
that
like
fits
that,
in. So
Dave.
I tried
like
to pick
that.
something I hadn't chosen is my
Yeah.
honest answer. Anyway, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been obsessed with the TCM podcast, which we've talked about quite a bit on the show. That's about John Ford and his career.
Yeah.
So I went through this whole, like, I downloaded a bunch of the John Ford films that I either haven't seen or haven't seen in a while, and I just on my
Are you going in order, or are you popping around?
just sort of popping around. But I'd seen it in my sort of early days of trying to figure out how to become a screenwriter. I'd seen The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, and man, that movie is good.
God, that is so good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And like one of the best John Wayne performances, I think, ever.
And the casting specifically of, sort of Jimmy Stewart playing, in a weird way, it becomes a parody of what we think of Jimmy Stewart playing.
Right.
And in a weird, they're both kind of playing mirror images of what they usually play. It's really
playing
fabulous.
against how you see them.
Yeah, playing against the sort of the type that they normally play.
But it's fantastic, and you should see it.
Really, really.
It's funny, that was actually Pete Berg's company's original take on what Hercules should be. My Hercules.
So meaning the idea that he turns out he's not a god and he's not a superhero. Is he a bad guy, or is he a
more
coward,
just like he's walked around this whole life with fame. The fame that has followed him has made him what he is, versus the actual feats. Like the 12 labors are the sort of, he did things, but they've been his celebrity have
right.
It's not like somebody else even
half of the 12 labors, that would be insane, and I never actually did. Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
That would have been really actually.
And then the minute you cast The Rock in the movie, all of that just.
Do you know? I mean, this is now. Do you feel like, did they go down that path with The Rock, and The Rock had no interest? Because he wasn't really The Rock at that point. He didn't have
it wasn't that. It was
power.
I mean, the movie, if you watch the movie, it tries to be that, but because you have the world's largest man in the role, it doesn't sell. Like the idea was like that, I don't know, like a normal person was playing this guy Hercules, and everybody is kind of always going, it's like Roadhouse. It's always like, oh, I thought you'd be bigger. He's always constantly disappointing when he walks into the room, and he's this myth precedes him. And then The Rock, and he looks like the statue of Hercules. So anyway, that's been Hercules cast on Stuff Dreams Are Made Of. My sophisticated enough to buy was the Sundance Kid Derby, lot 89240. I
thought about that one too. Yeah,
love that movie. William Goldman, Butch and Sundance, New Hollywood, Redford and Newman, just great. And what a great movie. If you just fast forward through the weird bicycle scene, that's a nearly a perfect movie.
But also an iconic hat. I know we talked a little bit about that, but like definitely a shape that you see one of those hats and you think to yourself, well, Charlie Chaplin, obviously, but my brain goes to Redford in that movie. It just does. I don't particularly know why. You know what I mean? Like, it's not no particular reason, you know what I mean? But just sort of like, the choice of that hat in the movie.
Yeah.
Just wonderful. Melissa C pointing out new Searchers print in 70 millimeters at the New York City in Queens at the Museum of the
I
Moving
heard about
Image.
that. Yeah, and there's a 4K coming this year apparently for the anniversary, and apparently they scanned it in like 16K or something because
They're
it's a
getting
70
ready
millimeter.
they're getting ready for next year. Yeah,
Good Lord,
16. Yeah.
be able to see John Wayne's soul when you
Uh,
watch that movie.
a couple other questions. Are you guys going after the signed American Graffiti script? Frank Berman is asking. I am not. I think it's
Nope,
wonderful.
it's
I think
great.
it's incredible. Things like that have gone before. There have been other things. I don't know if these are redos from the past, but I believe the what's their names? I believe Hyuk and Katz or Hyuk sold some of his
Is it
stuff.
Hyuk or is it Hike?
Hike, I don't even know.
It's
But anyway, he sold some stuff a couple of years ago, like where he kind of autographed a bunch of different things and whatnot. So there are things like that out there. I am not. I think it's wonderful.
yeah, it's great. And
Yeah,
there's
go
good
for it. Yeah.
graffiti stuff in another upcoming auction that we will not promote on this particular show.
Julian's, no.
Yeah, right. And there was also lots of compliments early. House of the Dragon season 2. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. No, I did not keep Egon's broken leg. However, the makeup effects team did deliver a really horrifying gift for me in my office, which at some point I will, after the season is aired, I will take a picture of and post it on the feed. It was just, we know you will like this, and here you go. And I sent a picture to my wife, and she said, please don't ever bring that home. So it's living in my office in London.
We have an upcoming episode where we spoke with forgive me her name, Ryan, the costume your costume
Carolyn McCall,
the wonderful costume person from House of the Dragon. And one of the things she specifically talks about is the sort of armor, the Aegon armor and the scales and whatnot, and then seeing the episode where they are sort of debriding the burn wounds and pulling the melted dragon scale armor, and I was just like, well done, Carolyn. So yeah, that was pretty amazing.
Yes, fantastic.
Yeah.
Dave, what about something that you can't believe exists that's in the auction?
Mine's very funny. 89178. It is the boat tiller from African Queen. From the African Queen. I just love that this is what someone has, saved from that movie. Obviously, it's a movie you could sort of think about the costumes. I guess you could have saved the boat itself, but if you were going to kind of reduce the movie down to one thing, and there's a shot, in the listing, there's a shot of just the two of them, on the back of the boat with Bogey's hand on the tiller. I don't know. It just kind of, excuse me.
That's very good.
To me, it encompassed that movie sort of in one, and I'm just sort of, God bless. And I guess it's signed by Katharine Hepburn, and God bless whoever saved it. I didn't even really read the description to say if it said who, but I was just like, yay, this exists. So
that's a great movie.
Yeah.
It's like John Huston sort of doing a bit of a screwball comedy, but done in the John Huston way, if that makes any sense.
Just kind of very bickering in a good way. Yeah.
On a dangerous whitewater rafting trip. For me, I had a couple. I mean, I think the big one that I was just like, wow, I can't believe that is 89031. It's the Mummy screen story, basically the screenplay for the 1932 Universal horror, The Mummy. The fact that that's still together and there's a copy of it, and it wasn't even called a screenplay at that point because they were screen stories. That and the Metropolis casting lot 89028, a movie that the poster doesn't even exist from anymore because it's so kind of lost to time and history. But two great lots there.
Truly, I mean, again, it's almost like a whole other branch of collecting, the notion of starting to go after like some of these rare scripts and story outlines and whatever continuities, whatever it would be. But especially when you start getting into these ones where they're like on like the onion paper and whatnot, it gets crazy. I don't know, but yes, wonderful that those exist. Yeah. Let's see. We got a couple other questions in here. Motion Picture Miniatures is a studio scale builder instead. Well, good for you, sir.
That's very cool.
Yep. Love that stuff. Stanley asks, has Ryan visited the condo recently? No, not yet. It'll probably be, well, I don't know. It could be Tuesday, but it could also be after San Diego, depending on how things fall. Yes. Yeah. Schedule.
Yeah. Very excited though, Dave. Very, very excited.
I was hoping it was going to be one step better, but it is not. I mean, the condo. It's like I thought maybe the carpeting would be in, but I don't think it's going to be. And I thought there'd be one or two more projects finished. So anyway, such is life. Let's move on to the next one. Best project, restoration, display, whatever. Something, a prop that isn't just a prop, but is sort of the start of a project, the start of sort of something. Very large. I, of course, will choose the Y-wing because I'm building a giant attack on the Death Star to scale. So I have one X-wing. I need like 7 more X-wings. I need a bunch of TIE fighters, a bunch of Y-wings, Gus's Death Star model, and then I need a lot of black velvet.
But only ever, Dave, one Stormtrooper figure. Dad decreed.
Well done. Yeah. How about you? You got something for real?
Yeah, I mean, this isn't a restoration, but it would be a display project, because how do you display it? Is the Greg Jein Excelsior. I just love that. I think that piece it's very cool. I love that it's probably screen matched from an episode. I like what it is, the history of the piece, what the Excelsior becomes. And I love that Greg built it. I think that's the thing that makes me care about it. It sort of brings that whole history together. And I think it's going to go for a reasonable price because of what it is. I don't see that being a blow you out of the water kind of the way the Excelsior would likely do.
Although for some reason, the Excelsior, the YouTube video of me looking at the Excelsior seems to be our hottest video at the moment. So I don't know if that
is true.
Yeah, and I don't think it's anything that I did in the video. So I think there's something.
Well, you are swinging your arms around very wildly in front of the prop stage.
It's a
so
solid.
You make people nervous.
I know it's solid. It's pretty solid though. Yeah.
I love the piece, and it looks like it actually could use a little TLC because it looks like the nacelles are maybe sagging a bit.
The nacelles are sagging a touch, which apparently I thought I was being a little polite not saying, but I guess apparently people were very bothered that I didn't say it out loud. So yeah, there you go. They're sagging.
Whatever. It's a 25-year-old piece or a 30-year-old piece at this point, and it just displaying that in a great way. Would be a nice, fun challenge, and just to have that piece. So that's that for me.
I am not denying any of that. My sort of one, and it's sort of a different project. I don't think it's meant in the definition of forgive me, the way that they meant it. I think they were looking for a project like, oh, then you got to get this, you got to get that. But I think the best project is actually the lot of Mary Poppins storyboards. And the project there is really trying, and we're sort of in the middle of the project, which is just basically there's 67 of them, which is to find enough people to kind of come together. And we've been talking about this with a couple of collectors. Basically, the project is to win the lot in a way that makes sense, because I'd like 4 of them, maybe 5 tops. That's what I would like. I'd like to pick 5 decent ones out of there, and of those 5, I'd like 2 or 3 to be extra memorable if it was humanly possible. And
Penguins Assemble, Dave.
Yeah. It is. So it's an interesting way to think of the project. And by the way, it's an interesting part of prop collecting. We've talked a little bit around it, but we've never really talked about it, which is, when these lots do come up, we've joked about them like, hey, someone call me if someone wants to, give me a paint can from or a brick from the Planet Hollywood, Home Alone. But there is something to be said for joining together with your fellow collector and, sharing a lot, splitting a lot, those kinds of things. And I've done it a little bit with photo lots and things like that, less so with prop lots. We've tried it a couple of times, but I think this one, it kind of calls out for it. So it's kind of a project unto itself in a weird way. So anyway, that was my project idea. So yeah. Any other questions here?
I mean, most insane Star Wars prop. I think we both know what that is.
Yeah. It's just the 9.3 making of Star Wars video cassette slabbed is incredible. I mean, that Y-wing is insane. And I said this, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it a third time at some point. It is just wild. These 2 years of the journey from Pyro to screen used X-Wing to screen used Y-Wing.
Yep.
It is wild. Someone asked early on, and forgive me, I'm not going to be able to scroll up and find the question, but someone was sort of asking, do we think there's more ships coming? I think there's certainly more Star Wars coming. I think these numbers, these big sort of these big items in the press, so to speak. I think it just, the numbers and whatever it begets stuff. I think there is an old school thing that went on with a lot of crew guys where they were worried that they would somehow get in trouble, even if they had not worked in the industry in 20 years, that somehow if all of a sudden they went to go sell their stormtrooper or whatever it was, their ship that they took off the set or whatever it was, that they would somehow get in trouble, that I don't know, George Lucas wouldn't hire them again, even though again they hadn't worked in 20 years. But the idea that somehow they would get thrown in some sort of a movie jail of some sort. And I think as these bigger ticket items are showing up, I think we're not only seeing the big, if you will, prices, but we're also seeing that at this point, it just seems like Lucas, for the most part, unless it's something that he contractually thinks he owns, these things are going through auction without issue. And
I mean, if he didn't raise a hand over the X-Wing,
right, exactly,
or the Stormtrooper, then I don't see it happening, and I just don't think there's going to, And to your point, Dave, it's the money has hit a certain point. Even now, old collectors, I think, that bought things at a simpler time are going hey, if it's worth that, then
right. I love this, but this seems like the time, like, why don't I enjoy the last 20 or 30 years of my life as opposed to having this thing? I wonder if
care about it.
Yeah. Do you think you'll ever get there? Is there like a level of like infirmary or sickness where you would go, okay, just sell it all, I don't care anymore? I don't know.
No, I want my family to be very angry with me.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be like an old British lord, sort of like freezing to death, sitting on one chair with the X-wing next to me, just like never.
The guy in the ninth gate, Dave,
ninth gate, yes,
exactly. Massive house that's falling down, and he has his books collection around him, and he still won't sell his Torsia.
So I just think stuff is coming. I can't specifically think that there is specifically more ships. I will say the following, we've been loosely tracking ships. I mean, we didn't necessarily know where these ships were. I'm not sure I knew there was a Pyro out there, but the rumor of another Y-Wing, another X-Wing, those have circled for the 20 odd years I've been in props. So those things existed. Hold on one second. I just need to say this out loud because it's a live show. Hey, babe, I fed the dog and walked him, so don't feed him again. Sorry.
It's that kind of look into
the
very real, glamorous lives.
Yeah. Dave, would a Star Wars TIE Fighter ignite your interest? It would, honestly. I mean, I'm not gonna. I can't.
I think that's better than the Y-Wing.
Yes, I think at this point, certainly. Look, I'm not. This is yes, exactly. There you go. Thank you, Tangy. Yeah, a TIE Fighter or Millennium Falcon would definitely, get the juices going, as they say. Look, I'm not interested in the Y-Wing, but boy, a Millennium Falcon would be just insane. And by the way, let's go one step further. Beggars can't be choosers. I would be okay even with an ILM model kit, Millennium Falcon. I think just anything Millennium Falcon.
Oh yeah, anything ILM.
Yeah, anything ILM. With their paint and in a perfect world, a couple of lights. I would very happily.
I mean, there is no major Millennium Falcon that's out there. All those are
not that we know of, at least. Yeah, right. Exactly. The big ones are spoken for. I've lost track of the smaller size ones, so maybe there's something out there. I've never heard of it specifically. I do believe there's at least one more TIE Fighter out there that I sort of know about. I believe I don't know if it's the Hero X-Wing, but I think there's one other X-Wing out there that I've sort of heard rumor of. Again, who knows? Wonder how to rank. This is Balerion the Dead again. Sorry, the dread. Wonder how to rank screen match potential future Star Wars props: A-Wing, B-Wing, TIE Fighter, TIE Advanced Vader, TIE Fighter, Imperial Shuttle, Millennium Falcon. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Millennium Falcon 1. I think TIE Fighter 2. I think Vader TIE Fighter 3, although we could argue there.
And then Imperial Shuttle.
You like Imperial Shuttle? See, you do. Okay. I think because you're a Jedi guy, I could probably would go B-Wing, A-Wing, or B-Wing, Imperial Shuttle, A-Wing. I think A-Wing. I enjoy A-Wing the least.
Yes.
Can we agree on that? Yeah,
I would agree on that.
Yeah,
I would say, there is a real conversation to be had. Like, if you were ranking these things, if the shuttle Tidirium showed up, which I imagine is in the archive, that one specifically, because that was piloted by Han and Chewbacca, that is a very key Star Wars prop. Even Vader's shuttle. I mean, if it matched to Vader, I mean, that's the thing that carted Vader around. I just love that design.
It's funny. I get the design. I understand that there's an elegance to it. That's why
Yeah,
it is sort of what it is. That it's supposed to be elegant and that it is different. It for me, it has less of that rootin' tootin' Star Wars feel. I guess
I
it's
get that.
yeah, but I can't say no either. So there you go.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
All
just
right,
because
Dave.
it's just because it's really, really, really nice. Yeah, for all those reasons. Yeah.
What's the best small thing?
My small thing, and I mean, again, we'll see how small, and again, your definition of small. I thought with a starting bid of $600, you could get that A-team clapper for a couple of $100 like that. And again, maybe you want smaller that because it's a B clapper. There's nobody's name particularly on it. I can't imagine the demand for I don't know, A-team is around, but anyway, for me, I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah,
In the lower numbered
the
sort of
lower tier.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah. The other thing, which again a little has a higher site estimate, is they have a couple of those ape prosthetics from Planet of the Apes, and I don't know, ape prices, dare I say, have seemed to be a little less than exciting of late. I think there are diehards, but there are not necessarily I don't know, people going crazy for original Planet of the Apes. And so if those masks, and I don't know if the starting bid may be $1,000, I might watch to see if it gets a bid and then see if I can make a low ball offer after the
yeah.
fact. So those
Just
were
like with the
two.
Y-wing.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to pass and then I can swoop in. Yeah. How about you? A low end piece, as they say?
For me, I had a couple of things. I do love that little Pazuzu head. I know it's a replica, but I like the Linda
I
Blair
like that
thing,
she
and like,
signed it. And by the way, kudos to whoever did the display and the mounting. It's a
yeah,
really nice look. The second I saw replica, I'm sorry, kind of moved along, I guess, for lack of
yeah.
a
But
better
I
word.
mean,
Yeah.
I presume it's from the period, and or it's something. It's not like today, and I don't know. And I like the Linda Blair connection. Also, what exists from The Exorcist. That's lot 89339. My real answer though is lot 89402. It's that really cool piece of T2 Judgment Day, the Future War concept art.
Oh, yes, yes,
Um,
yes.
I think that's a fab little piece
And
of
such a
T2.
reasonable little price for just a
Yeah,
really nice
or
little
it is now at least.
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, we don't know where it's going to end, but art, by the way, usually production art for the most part, obviously you start getting into the Mobiuses and whatnot, uh, the Mobius, the Sid Mead, whatnot, the Blade Runner world, those things
Yeah.
start to go up, the Star Wars stuff. But I don't know. I feel like there's a good opportunity there for that to be grabbed, I guess. I don't know. So
Yeah.
I am with you. Yeah.
Um,
Um,
and Dave, what is the now shifting into the worst category? What's the worst Prometheus piece in the auction for you?
well, sadly, there was nothing actually
I know.
from Prometheus, which is just truly a shame, I guess. I've said this as a category, so forgive me. I am so bothered by these boxed and graded video cassettes as a collecting field. I think
Yeah.
honestly, I'm just it. By the way, this is what makes me clearly a millennial, right? A different generation. No, I
Yeah.
am just bothered by the concept of it. I mean, I understood cards. I understood, stuff. I guess, look, I don't clearly love grading. It is a fact of life. I don't know. The video cassette grading just sort of, I don't know. I find to just makes me nuts. So I do not
Yes,
care for it.
I think
Yeah.
it's
I do
gross.
not like it, Sam. I am. So
I do
yeah.
not like it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do.
I really,
Gives
really
me
hate it. Yeah.
it gives me millennial pause. I will say.
Uh, very good. What do you guys think of Michael Jordan's Space Jam jersey? Frank Berman, I am too old for that
Me
piece. I
too.
mean,
Me
yeah,
too.
I,
But
I, but,
cool.
but, but yes, absolutely cool. I will be curious to see because Heritage does have a very, incredible forgive me, sports memorabilia. I don't know if you just saw, they just premiered a Babe Ruth. They showed it off actually at the All-Star game. They've got a Babe Ruth jersey with like an estimate of a few $1 million coming up for
30.
auction.
Yeah.
30. Yeah. That's the opening bid is 30 million, which just goes to show you there's always another Y-wing in the world. But I honestly did wonder, if the sports people will get that alert, Michael Jordan, and kind of come for it. Because if you're a guy sitting at home and you've got like his rookie jersey and the jersey he played for in, the last game he ever played, and you've got all these like, in his college jersey, whatever, I think a Space Jam jersey is missing in your collection. And so that was a piece I also wondered if like, like could go insane, where we're all sitting there going, what's happening? Because two sports guys come in. So I guess totally be careful, Frank Berman. I think it's wonderful, but I'm thinking giant things. I don't know what else to say.
And Steven's worried that I'm going to be outbidding him on the T2 art. Don't worry, Steven. I have other fish to fry. So you go with God there.
Is things you would never buy sort of the same as what we just talked about? Because I feel like that was sort of my same answer, which is the stupid video cassettes. Or you want to pick a prop?
That's fine. For me, it's just that Leia Bikini thing, and it's 89354. I like, even if it was the screen matched one, I don't know how I would ever like have that on display or anything in my house, and I just think it's weird. And that's just a thing for me. So that's what I call it. As a Star Wars fan, that was one.
I get it. It's sort of a little too much, so to speak.
Like, I don't know. Then you have to start, you need a fuzzy rug in your house, and you have to wear more robes. In my comic art collection, and there are certainly people that collect this exclusively, I do not have a lot of what I guess I would call lady art, cheesecake art, whatever. It's just not something I've ever really collected. There's certainly a couple of pieces I have where there happened to be a woman in them, you know what I mean? But it is an X-Men cover or whatever, as opposed to a piece of pinup art unto itself. And I did early on, I did have a couple of pieces that had, a little sort of more nudity in them. Again, picked up because I like the artist and whatnot. And at some point I did just kind of let them go, basically, because I don't know, you know what I mean? It didn't seem. You correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the great Dave Stevens pieces are sort of fall into that category, right?
There are definitely some absolute, like, some wonderful, nudes by Dave Stevens. And I don't have any of those, but they might make me break my rule. But again, it's not something I'm certainly not going to put it on my wall. And if it's not going to make the wall, if it's not going to hang right there behind my head, then, I don't think there's a point to it all. And I wouldn't buy any of the Golden Globes. I just that organization bothers me. So there you go. So there's that too. Does that count? That's right.
Well, and one day in the near future, possibly, a Ryan Condal Golden Globe could be available for sale.
I will say my opinion of the Golden Globes will change the moment I actually win a Golden Globe. I think,
exactly. As did mine. Would you take my Golden Globe for the Hero Solo Blaster, Dave? Would that be a fair 1-to-1?
I'll think about it. I'm not going to lie.
Heavy. It's very chunky. It's very satisfying.
I stuck a little sticker on the bottom of your Golden Globe that just says, Dave wants this for your estate sale, like, just so your kids will remember that I'm interested in it. So,
okay. Cool.
But I'm not necessarily looking to trade. I think I'm just looking to pick it up for a bargain later on. So
step over my dead body.
That's my plan, at least.
Speaking of angry spouses, Dave.
Yes.
What thing would piss off your wife the most if you bought it?
Well, again, obviously the Y-wing sort of speaks for itself, but I would say, honestly, that's certainly just in terms of, the number and whatnot, but and I will pick the Excelsior as well, but I would say any of the Star Trek ships. There are a couple of wonderful ships. There's the Academy Trainer. There's any of these sort of like just various, and a bunch of them are Greg Jein built. There's a Klingon civilian transport. There's a Jem'Hadar fighter. I think if my wife saw anything that looked like a model ship, just anything in the
else.
Yes, exactly. It would just like, that kind of cartoony, like the eyes would spin into whatever, and then the steam and whatnot. So it would really, I think it would set her off, dare I say. So, and at this point, I feel like the entire model industry is kind of
on notice.
Yeah, exactly. Be careful. Yeah, and be careful. How about you? What would drive Kaylin crazy?
I don't know that there's anything particularly triggering in here. The thing I laughed about was we were driving the other day, and there was some question about spending time going to a deserted island with somebody, and I sort of gave my list, and my children knew that Arnold Schwarzenegger was very high on the list. So I just picked out one of the T2, the full size Arnold displays, 89274 from Planet Hollywood, because I just think that's probably
that
just,
would
I think there's a lot of Arnold stuff.
It would remind them of their ranking, basically.
Yes, there's a lot of Arnold stuff in my house, but it's subtly Arnold. His face isn't there, so I think bringing the whole like persona of the person in would be a new level of my unhealthy love for our former governor.
Just the idea that you, if you were just sort of being able to kind of go like, okay, Arnold, and you kind of were just constantly moving it upstairs and downstairs, and just kind of, I think that's very nice. I like
having conversations with him as so on the flip side of that, Dave, what's the thing that your wife would secretly love you for bringing home?
I don't know if she would secretly love me, let me put it that way. But I think at least she would, there would be benign, like, okay,
appreciation.
Right. Yeah. Benign appreciation, or at least sort of, no, I don't want to strangle you tonight like I normally do. And
is it the Robert Redford meme from his survival movie? What is that? Jeremiah Johnson? Is it the one where he's nodding as the camera pushes in? It's just a regular.
I don't think I've seen the meme. I think I know the shot, but I don't think I know the meme.
Like, I accept your play and I take it, sir.
Gotcha. It's sort of like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like some millennial can post that in our feed here and get that today.
I think there'd be sort of a all right, so be it. And by the way, maybe this is where you're headed as well, and I did wonder about that. I kind of jumped to that sort of the Edith Head collection here, and in particular, I think one of the Vertigo, one of the To Catch a Thief, Grace Kelly's. I think leaning more towards the Hitchcock ones. So one of the To Catch a Thief, the Vertigo. I can't remember. Was there a rear window? And I think there was a single. There was a rear window, maybe not as recognizable. So one of those, I think, would be kind of okay, I get it. You know what I mean? And also, it's a nice size. It would frame up. You could hang that in the house itself. It feels a little bit like art unto itself. It doesn't pound you over the head with movie nerdiness kind of a thing. So is that where you kind of came around in that area as well?
Yeah, I mean that definitely is on that would be on the list. I think that would be not only okay, but I would get the Jeremiah Johnson nod on that one. The one that I actually picked was the Home Alone costume, lot 89399, because I just think that there would be a lot of delight, and my children also love that one.
Your kids would like it, and maybe that would make your wife happy. You think it would make her happy? Okay,
that movie was a big deal. Yeah. And it's watched multiple times every Christmas season.
My kids loved it. I mean, I'm not sure that anybody's watched it here in a long time, but they certainly, those first two, loved it. And the strangest conversation, which was when they first saw, is it the third one where it's a different kid, right? It's like there's like a Home Alone 3 with just an all different kid, and trying to explain that to my 5-year-old at the time was just wild.
Mine pointed it out to me. She said, she's like, it's not Kevin anymore in the third one. And I was like, well, after Kevin's parents left him home twice and went on vacation, I think they probably learned their lesson. And she took that. She was like, oh, okay. So it didn't happen again to him.
My kids got a much larger discussion of the movie industry and greed. So I don't know if that landed, but
Macaulay Culkin was taking in around 20 mil a picture at that point, and I think with his gross points, I just don't think they saw the margin in making the third film. So Dave, what would you what prop would you buy for a joke for me?
I have the perfect thing picked out for you. If everyone would turn in your Heritage catalog to lot number 89296, it's William Shatner's handwritten signed essay entitled "Some Hanukkah Memories." And I would like that. I would like that on the William Shatner stationery. I would like that. I'll have that framed for you, and I'd like it hanging in your office so that you can always see it, especially when we are podcasting. That it would just kind of be just slightly off screen, but we would both know it was forever there. Yeah.
And to put it in amongst my favorite Hanukkah memories, I think that's the most important. So good. I like that, Dave. I had so many answers for you because this category delights me. So my first one is lot 89355,
Okay.
which is the Mandalorian helmet, and I think that
Yes,
one
that's a really good one. That's
functions
fantastic.
on
Yep,
so many
bravo.
levels for you.
Yep.
I just really like
Well
that.
done.
And
Bravo.
I would wrap it in a very the wrapping paper where you can see the gift beneath. It would like the antenna would be outlined in the wrapping
Like a
paper,
little
and you'd be
piece
like,
of the like not enough wrapping paper, so
yeah.
clearly you could see the silver metal peeking out. Yeah.
No. So you see the visor and everything. So you see the clear shape of Boba Fett, and I'm like, well, Dave, you're turning 60, and I really want it. What do you get a guy who has everything Star Wars? And I really wanted to get this for you, and then to have you excited for about 30 seconds until you tear into it and you see the bright silver shining through. That was my first answer. And then lot 89484 was my other.
Hold on, I'm just jumping so I can see these as you present them to me. Yes.
Just because it's the boomerang prop that you try to get out of your house, and then it just comes back around.
Just keeps coming back like, oh, good, I sold it. Oh,
yeah, it's gone. Yeah, so the Wolverine claws are Dave's, and I understand we have a video forthcoming that's that has a co-star in the video. So look forward to that on our social feed, covering those claws. And
I will say I don't. Those are. I mean, I sort of made a decision like I can live without, as opposed to I hate them. So,
no, I don't. I don't think you hate.
So far, your Mandalorian is winning. I'm just saying
you're
winning with
cleansing.
The Mandalorian. Yes.
I just thought yes. And then the final answer, because I think this works on many levels, is lot 89235, which is the
hold on. Yes, I almost said this one too.
The Glen Ford pool table, because we have these 6 mover guys getting it into your house. I'm yelling at Becky, don't worry, it's not a spaceship.
Right. It comes and it's like, I bought something giant. It's not from Star Wars. It's Glen Ford's personal pool table.
Personal pool table. Yeah.
What I really want, if somebody buys Glen Ford's personal pool table, if it comes with the photos of Glen Ford playing at his personal pool table, I am interested in one of the 2 photos of Glen Ford's personal pool table.
To help them.
So that's a project. Yeah. I'm willing to throw in like, I don't know, $30-$40 to get one of the photos of Glen Ford
pay down the shipping charge.
Yeah, playing his pool table. So yeah, I would be
very good
with that. Yeah. How many? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. How many times can I not buy this award?
Glen Ford's personal pool table.
That's true. I keep having opportunities and I keep coming up with excuses not to buy it. I had that's where I had the Edith Head drawing.
And I sort of have the Edith Head there too as well, which is just like at some point we do have to actually buy one of them. Yeah. And I've lost track of like, sometimes they're ones that have looped around, and sometimes these seem to be all from one collection that have listed that it seems like have been together for a while. Yes. So I don't think these are redos, but yeah, it is.
And then there are apparently ones that are ones that she
did later on
as like a heritage thing, not the no pun intended, but but these are the real things. So I think
and I also wonder about that, which is, and again, maybe now some more research to be done, which is how you tell the difference. Like, what is it that lets you know that ones are, because there are obviously like we've seen with like the Marilyn Monroe stuff, like people have redone a costume later on, made by the same original designer or whatever. But here's her 7-year itch, subway grade dress, but it's not the subway weight dress. It's a one made by the same designer within a time period, but still not it. Being sold what it is. So I guess the equivalent of a dress replica or a whatever, but where does that fit in? And so definitely something to learn. Frank Berman pointing out that Glen Ford, yes, was Pa Kent. So good point. So Pa Kent's pool table. And maybe does that make it better? Does that make it? I don't know. I don't want people bidding. I don't want people bidding against us, but
maybe that is the better thing.
If our dreams ever came together on the stuff dreams are made of, where we had like, 20,000 followers and enough sort of like, YouTube ad revenue where we could like buy like a small like podcasting studio in the greater Los Angeles area, like a little kind of something or other, I would track down Glen Ford's pool table and put it in our little office. I think that would be
nice. Yeah.
I don't think we're there quite yet. Yeah.
We're not there.
Yeah.
Although our YouTube subscribership has taken a big jump recently, so maybe we will be full-time podcasters before we
I'm going
realize
to ask this is, I know this is the live, but I guess this will be up for everybody too, which is if somebody is good at the internet, if somebody is good at like the world of social media and whatnot, we would love some help in terms of like, because I'm honestly confused because we are well on our way to 4,000 YouTube subscribers, and yet we like none of our videos have 4,000 views, and I guess we're over 4,000. I'm just being told now by Barca.
oh
You're all
yeah.
seeing that, so we are over 4,000 YouTube subscribers, which is fantastic and excellent.
It's
And
because
thank
we
you.
broke the Biden story, Dave. They're all
Yep.
coming in now.
um, and so that is fantastic, and yet nothing we do ever gets 4,000 views. So why are people signing up, or who is signing up? We certainly are not. We have not on purpose been buying any bots that I know of. Were you buying any bots and didn't tell me?
I have not. I have not
Yeah.
bought any bots, Dave. I don't
So
know.
yeah,
I bid on a lot of Blade Runner and Terminator stuff, but I don't think I've moved into that phase.
number one Marvel fan, been talking a lot about it in the art groups, talking a lot about the Glen
Oh,
Ford pool table, or
or the
how YouTube works, or something
no.
else.
I think he's saying our show. He's been talking about our show in the art
Oh,
groups, which we appreciate, and I
which is
think that's
fantastic. I do think Ryan buying the Watchmen piece has lured a lot of comic art people over, which of course is ironic, as I've been collecting comic art for a million years and nobody gives a fuck. But Ryan buying the Watchmen page seems to have kind of gotten people over. Um, uh, this is the first time on your lives that I've had ads interrupt the stream. That's a good, if annoying, occurrence. Well, okay, maybe that has to do with our 4,000.
Oh wow.
So yeah, we got a check for like $100 last month, which is just, I mean, obviously huge. So yeah. Anyway, we're just confused. But Tangy, how do I reach out to help? LOL. Is that real, or is this your area of expertise? If it really is, what's our email?
Dreams are made of podcasts at gmail.com. Bart's
Yeah.
going to write it into the feed as we speak.
Fantastic. Where are we?
Weirdest thing, Dave. I have a thing that this isn't necessarily weird. It's weird for me where it sits in the hierarchy, and I need you to. It's a piece of art, and I need you to explain it to me. This Carl Banks Scrooge stuff. Can you explain this phenomenon to me? And this thing has already got a bid of $200K on it. It's a lovely painting. I'm not besmirching the art. I don't understand, and I need you to explain it to me.
I'm not sure I have the perfect answer. Obviously, Carl Barks was the original. He did the Uncle.
Oh, is it Barks, not Banks? Did I write
Barks?
Banks?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Because I'm thinking of
there is a bank. Yeah.
I'm thinking of the New York Giant, Carl Banks.
Farlane the Goblin points out that Spielberg and Lucas collect Carl Barks, and they do, absolutely.
Okay.
And Farlane the Goblin also wrote Barks in all caps. So
yes, thank you, Farlane.
He is definitely in demand. For those of you that ever saw Last Days of Disco, the wonderful Whit Stillman movie, the Robert Sean Leonard character has a Carl Barks. I think it's an original, but I can't remember. Maybe it's just a framed comic on his wall when Chloe Sevigny is over, and she's trying to sort of hit on him. And so there's the line of dialogue in that movie where she says something like either Scrooge McDuck. I can't remember if she says Carl Barks or Scrooge McDuck. Maybe she says Scrooge McDuck. She goes, Scrooge McDuck is very sexy. So that line exists. He's been always in demand, I think, since people realized who he was. And then later on in like the 70s, when he was no longer working for Disney, he kind of started doing these sort of paintings that became these limited edition things. And those paintings have become sort of very collectible and rare unto themselves. I don't have any great answer why it's still sort of, like why people, care that much. I've always been interested. I guess I'd love to find an original Barks from the period, like a Scrooge McDuck page, and obviously I'd want certain things on it. I've always been less personally enamored with those later paintings, but they are very famous and well known to the collectors. I don't have a great answer.
And is it specifically Scrooge McDuck and
it's
Huey,
very
Dewey,
much
Louie?
To me, it's Scrooge McDuck and kind of this sort of great adventure, like the hunt for treasure. It was sort of almost like a mix. who says, Frank Berman says, look up Scrooge #7. The panel in the comics was the inspiration for the opening of Raiders.
Oh,
There is a
okay.
real adventure sort of like serial quality to the entire thing in a great way. So I don't know. Yeah,
love
most
it.
of
I love the
pages were
answer. I'm
destroyed.
not, again, not besmirching at all. I didn't quite understand it because
It
also
confuses you. I get
it's
it.
not
I get it.
movie related, and like I watched DuckTales as a kid, and I loved it, but I didn't get it. So
Yeah.
but
No,
thank you.
I understand that. My weirdest thing, which is not weirdest thing really, but I thought I'd point it out. And I was saving this for that. I was very interested in the Orson Welles War of the Worlds letter, which you may have all noticed has been pulled from the auction.
I
And the
did.
reason it was pulled was Heritage discovered that the signature was not an original signature, that Orson Welles at the time, I guess, was using some sort of not an auto machine, but some
pen?
sort of like an auto pen
Oh,
or
a
a stamp
stamp.
or something. I
Okay.
think it was a stamp for signatures at the time, and unfortunately, this was one of them.
Oh, that's a shame.
And so I guess I was very, very excited for that, and so that was what was so weird. And I too wondered, like, why is it gone? Because they'll tell you why it's gone, but it doesn't always say why it's gone. So yeah, I did reach out to find out. So
Yeah,
I don't know if that's weird, but I thought that was a good place.
Yeah,
to point
but
that
I
out.
mean,
Yeah.
good on
Yeah.
Heritage for doing the extra due
Yes,
diligence.
that's
and
absolutely the right thing to do, is
yanking it.
pull it. And
Yeah.
by the way, maybe it can come back as, telling you what it is. Here is a letter with a machine stamp on it, because it's still a period letter about War of the Worlds, but obviously certainly a lot less interesting without
Yeah.
the Orson Welles
Yeah,
signature on
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Was there anything in this auction that you used to own
No,
personally?
not for me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Wolverine claws, but that's
I was
not
gonna ask,
really. Yeah.
are there other props in here that are?
No, nothing in this one. I looked through again to make sure I hadn't missed anything. Sometimes I go like, oh yeah, right, I did own that for about a minute, but no, nothing that jumped out at me as like, oh, that was mine. Yeah, no, which is weird. Usually every auction at least has something at this point. Lord
Yeah.
knows the comic art. There's not a comic art auction that doesn't go by where there's like some weird piece, like in the Heritage, like on the Sunday, like on day 4 of the comic art, where I'm just like, oh yeah, that used to be mine. I own
mine,
that
yeah.
for like I own that for like 7 years, but
Yeah,
but by the way, got rid of it 10 years ago, and there it is popping up. Yeah.
But there's more
anyway.
churn in comic art, and certainly there's more.
And I've been
churn
doing
in
it long.
history
I've been
with
doing
you
it
and-
longer. Yes, exactly.
Okay, so what
I guess we kind of brings us to the end, right? Sort of
well,
things we should be buying, and what are we actually
what
buying?
do you think I should be buying? What do I think you should be buying?
Yeah. I do feel like you should go for. I mean, I know you. I feel like you need to come up with a good number and just go for the Blade Runner.
Yeah.
I guess that's the honest answer. I also
let's
think.
chat about. Okay,
we'll talk about the number in a second. But
yeah,
hold on. Let me just say this. I do think, and I'm going to stay in this category, maybe for both of us. I do think there is a great discussion to be had for. I think some of this poster art in this auction is just fabulous, and I think
agree.
the Bob Peak Voyage Home is fucking gorgeous.
Yeah.
I think the Papuza Star Wars novelization cover, because it's not the original poster art, but it's used on the novelization, and was probably used for other things in Italy that we may not know about. So that I think is wonderful.
Yes, that art
and
was very familiar to me.
And I think the Temple of Doom, the Australian piece by Mike Vaughn. Oh, there you go. Look at that, Vince Vaughn, Mike Vaughn, I believe. Was
I think
really
that's a different auction, Dave.
No. Oh, you're right. No.
Is it in this?
Yeah, it's this one.
Okay.
I saw it. It's in the Heritage video. Sorry, it's in the Heritage video. Yeah, I know. It's so much stuff.
Okay.
No, the Temple of Doom, Australian.
Yeah, the Australian, the comp or whatever.
Yes.
The on the way to the final.
Yeah, I think it's really, really gorgeous, and those pieces. Maybe more than some of the props in this auction, I know I'm answering both ways, are things that I think you and I both should be looking at, maybe on some level, even beyond the other stuff that we're looking at. I just think these are some really gorgeous poster examples.
Actually, the one I called out for you, Dave, is a piece of art, just because you and your fabulous art collection, and it just fits into the period really well. But you actually, it's the one that you didn't bring up. It's the Charles Mall Sting art.
Oh, yeah, and I thought about that too. Yep, I thought about that one too.
89 341. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. It's just funny. I know that image exists. It's just not an image.
It's not
for
the
me.
one. It's not the Amstel one,
and it's not even. It could also not be the one. but I just was so unfamiliar with it as an image that I don't
Sure.
have any nostalgia for it. So it's not a hard no, but I think I like some of the other images more.
Better.
Whereas,
Yeah.
I just do. The peak piece in particular, the Voyage Home is fabulous.
Gorgeous.
It's
Yeah.
giant, but it's fabulous.
But it's not. It's giant, but it's not too big. It's not
No, it
prohibitively big.
goes on a wall, but
Yeah.
it
And
is
it's a statement piece. It's
yes,
its
it
own
is
thing.
very. It is Star Trek. Ta-da! Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really did like that wherever that fits in. So I'm sorry. Back to the Blade Runner, just to loop full around. Maybe I don't know. Where are you? Where is it at? Like, can we start there?
I mean, it's sitting at 32.
Okay.
Which is 40 with premium.
Sure.
Which is a not
insignificant. Yeah.
Unhealthy number. I mean, I guess my question to you is, how much higher do you go? I mean, it's already north of what I paid for my pencil prelim.
Right. And I unfortunately think it probably, even though your pencil prelim may be technically more finished, I think it's going to end up more than the pencil prelim. And it may end up more than it may, and even if it had, I know it is more than the prelim, even if it wasn't there yet, I think it would get there. Again, I don't know if this is the number you want, but I do think it's pretty special. I think it's going to get closer probably to 100 than you would like. I think a number to sort of make a run at it is probably like 80 all in. Maybe you get it for that. And it may go higher, but I think you at least have a shot in that world. I think if you just bid, forgive me, 50, I think it's going to fly by you. And that's okay too. I'm just telling you where I think it's going, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. You have to decide that obviously for yourself. And and I guess that's my problem on the on the Y-wing, just to turn it around to this, which is
I guess that's a good counterpoint. It's like, what's your number?
I know. It's like, when does 2 million seem like a bargain? Well, I guess when an X-wing sells for 3. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think it's going that high, Dave. I think it's a more niche piece. I think it will get 7 figures, but I think it will stay in the 1 to 1.5. And not that that's anything to sneeze at, but that's where I think it's going to stay.
It's nothing to sneeze at, but it's certainly a lot better than I think. I think it's going higher. I mean, I'll be very honest. In my mind, I feel like I'll make a run, but be outbid, quite honestly, more than anything. It's where my brain has gone. Not that for me, it's not going to be I have to get it, I'm going to the mattresses, I think it's going to be all right, I'm going to throw my number on it, but I guess I wouldn't be surprised, especially if my number is in that sort of 1 to 2 that I just end up outbid. It just is what it is.
I mean, that's it's just a gut shot for me.
It's just wonderful, but boy, how are you managing decisions of what to buy when we have another huge auction in a few weeks? Well, I mean, obviously we've all seen that catalog. Look, I think it's a fact of life, Tangy, that at this point, usually there's rarely one catalog without at least another catalog, if not two catalogs. Yes, exactly. And, and at the same time, things being announced for even further down. I've seen some stuff, we won't name other competitors, but just even other auctions coming up in November. So it is just a fact of life, and it is definitely something to think about. Like, do I want this more than that? But you also have to think about, and I hate to say this, things do loop around. Things get people sell stuff that I'm always surprised people sell stuff. Hell, there's stuff in this auction that people got, relatively recently in the Commissar auction or the James Jein auction, whatever. So people sell stuff. It always surprises me. There's a group of collectors that seem like they want to own things for a period of time, and that the victory in some ways is almost owning it for a while and then move on to find the next thing, even if they get rid of something that seemingly was a great thing to have. But they have it, they got it, they owned it, and they move on. This exists in comic art as well. I think other collectible fields, it's almost like the hunt, the getting is the charge, and they like having it, they like owning it, they like appreciating it, and then it's like, okay, now I've owned this, what next? So I don't like saying things will never come around, but with some of these items, I do try and approach them like, if I don't get it, if someone else wins and I never see it again, how sad am I going to be? Or how upset?
I mean, if whoever is buying that Y-wing, you won't see it again for
exactly. I don't think we're going. Yes, I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to show up in the next Heritage. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Any pieces that you both want and might fight over? Well, I mean, maybe we may talk
Tune into
more.
our next live live stream
Yeah.
auction podcast.
There's that. But I mean, I could see a world where we were both interested in like the Star Wars art. I'm sorry, the Star Trek art. I could see a world.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I could
Yeah.
see a world.
Well,
I think the Y-Wing is not quite it, but I could see a world where you were interested in the Y-Wing, you know, and that would probably give me a great reason not to go for it. You know, that would make my life
and look,
easier.
I am very interested. I came to the
your number, my number may not be as high as someone else's number, but I think your number is even lower than my number.
Yes,
so I think
that's not what I value the Y-Wing at. It's just like my sort of comfortability with
exactly
investing. And we talked about this in a previous podcast, but my search for moving upstream and getting, kind of just waiting in the wings for A pieces or A plus pieces only. And the Y-Wing definitely fits into that, but I think it fits in as an A piece in your collection more than it does in mine, because mine is so, I have a wonderful Scream Match Stormtrooper helmet, and I have that great Han Solo Luke Skywalker blaster, two sort of very recognizable principal pieces. And I think the Y-Wing is just, for my collection, is just one step too niche.
Yep, I get that
for where for where we are, and I think it fits.
It fits
much better.
It is not the Star Wars piece you are looking.
That's the thing. It's like I could see myself spending that on a Star Wars piece down the line. I just don't know if the Y-Wing is that piece, and that's the calculus that I am.
Yeah, I feel like for you, this is going to sound very silly. If you bought the Y-Wing today, just pretend it's not an auction. Pretend someone was just offering it out of the trunk of their car, like the good old days. If you bought
as
that
the gods intended it, Dave.
Yeah. If you bought that, private deals, hashtag private deals. If you bought that Y-Wing today, I can think of a lot of Star Wars pieces that could conceivably show up in the next 10 years where your ultimate thought would be, okay, I'm going to sell my Y-Wing and get that other piece.
Yeah.
That's my take on your thought process on the Y-Wing. And I feel like if I were to get the Y-Wing, I think I certainly would be getting the Y-Wing because I think I want to keep it forever and ever and ever. But I am not unaware that there are perhaps other bigger fish to fry down the line. That all being said, and I don't know if this is like a true end thought, or at least my end thought on the object itself. The Y-Wing is a scratch built New Hope.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah,
it is fucking insane. It is, to me, one of the great Star Wars props I've ever seen. I just happen to have some other stuff.
Better one.
I mean, it's just this crazy thing.
Yeah.
And in a world where I lost the last time, I am beyond all in on this one. I mean, beyond.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
And I'll go one step further. If I won this one and, again, having lost the other two, I'm not unhappy. You know what I mean? I'm not sitting around going, oh, woe is me, I didn't get an X-Wing and I ended up with this Y-Wing. I'm fucking juiced. I mean, it's incredible. And I will tell you, seeing it in person made it that much worse.
The video is goddamn, and I wasn't there in person, but the video is goddamn amazing. And I've said this before, but I prefer the Y-Wing ship design to the X-Wing ship.
It's a really gorgeous design. Yeah.
Aesthetic sort of, future retro space fiction kind of from that level. Now Stanley is telling you, just buy it, Dave.
Yeah. Just wild. Incredible.
But to go back to Stanley's question, we really haven't fought over anything. I mean, we would never fight, but I don't think we've ever gotten into where we've had to come down to this sort of, okay, give me your final number so that we can compare them I can think of pieces that I guess conceptually in different scenarios could have gotten us there. I think I can pick an obvious one. I think, certainly the Han Solo blaster in an open auction would have been a discussion. Do you know what I mean? But it wasn't. Sure, yeah. But it wasn't. Right. I think the Wrath of Khan costume in a world, the away team jacket in a world where I'm not saving my money for, whatever, that's a conversation. I mean, I don't have an answer. I'm just saying there are definitely pieces that we've both been interested in, but by hook or by crook, one of us was focused elsewhere. And typically there's something pulling us. Yes. In that is the answer. You know what I mean? It's like every now and then a piece will come up. Sorry, this is not about me and Ryan, but like someone will talk about a piece like that was in Heritage or something. And I go, what? And we look it up and it's like, oh, that's a really good number.
why didn't I buy that? Like, that seems really good. And then I'm like, what else was in that auction? And I look back, and invariably, you turn to whatever, like the Star Wars section, and it's like,
There it
oh,
is.
that's why I didn't bid on that on day one, like on the 5th item ins. So yeah. So I do need to wrap this up, as I have
let's bring it
tickets
on
to
home.
Vertigo 70 millimeter at the
Oh,
Egyptian Theater today. I'm very
fantastic.
excited. So if anyone's heading to the Egyptian, say hi. I'll be the only person there in a mask. But well, other than my wife, we'll be the 2 in a mask if you're at the Egyptian. I saw Apocalypse Now yesterday, which was fucking cool.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
70 millimeter print.
70 millimeter. Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Scorsese's own 70 millimeter
Oh,
print
so good.
yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you guys for showing up, as always, guys and gals, or at least gal, Melissa. I don't know about the rest of you, but thank you all. A whole bunch of our usuals. Pegleg Pete, saw you there. Sorry, didn't call you out. A bunch of others too. Thank
Stephen,
you,
Fairlane the
everyone.
Goblin, Balerion
Yeah.
the Dread, Stanley, #1 Marvel fan. Yes,
Yeah, a lot of our
Callum
usuals. Yeah.
Barnes. We loved having all of you guys. Thank
For
you.
what it's worth, the X-Wing and the Y-Wing together would be exceptional. Well, that we can't argue with that. Thank you, Calum.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Very, very, very true. By the way, the whole rest of this week, there will be more videos every day on the YouTube channel of some different heritage things. So please check that out. And obviously, as soon as I think the heritage stuff ends, we will then go right into the next auction. So you guys will get that as well. I do think we have a show coming up on Wednesday, but I don't remember which one. So enjoy that.
Well,
one
it'll
as
be
well.
this. It'll be this.
Oh, this
It'll
will go live for the regular audience.
This will
Yes,
be the posted one on
very
Wednesday.
smart. Look at
because
that.
on Thursday the auction begins. So by next week, this is all old news, and the last thing to do is the postmortem.
Right, and we will both be down at San Diego Comic-Con. So say hello, please.
Yes,
we will be both down there. And we will be running around. I don't know if there's a lot of prop stuff going on down at the certainly if any movie studio actually made a movie and is displaying any props from the movie that they actually made, we will be standing in front of it.
We will be standing in front of it, doing this with our chin.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Look at that. I'd like to get that. So thank you everyone for coming out. Okay. Yeah. Bye.